Cast of Mornings LALATE with your second stimulus check and second stimulus package update direct from Los Angeles earlier at about 7 o'clock on the West Coast. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and so is Instagram. We're simulcast today on Instagram. So if you're following on Instagram and YouTube, where this video originates, you can hear me in stereo. It's just like a Taylor Swift, just more in tune. Sorry, just joking. So there you go. Here we are. I'm here, you are here. And where is that stimulus check? Well, the stimulus check could be here next week. The breaking news, as you saw it on Friday, is that there's really a procedural blockade being set up. And the procedural blockade is the result of this channel. The procedural blockade, the stimulus check amount, the deal provisions, and the push and why everything has changed will be covered in this video. Meantime, I'll also get to why stimulus and second stimulus has become a national agenda and why you should book LALATE on CNBC, because they're actually now tuning in to the stimulus and second stimulus debate coverage and sort of excited about it. Meantime, I'll take a short, brief look back on the earlier part of this year and show you how second stimulus has really been a major issue of desire for not just the viewers of this channel, but people across the country. And the reaction from viewers and citizens across the country to the deal provisions put forward in the memos for the continuing resolution this week. You'll be surprised by the reaction. I was, so I have those details and more. Meantime, I'll have an update about procedurally where we are in the continuing resolution, your PUA, your UI, and more. And I see Tina in the room, and I see Chuck, and I see Willie from Oklahoma, and then on Instagram I see Linda, Queen Bazima, and Smiley. Greens from Germany, Berlin. Well, thank you, Chris Bakken. Thank you for joining me for Germany, from Berlin. What a gorgeous city. What a gorgeous, gorgeous city. I hope you're good. I know you had another surge of COVID right before our second wave, so hope Germany is well. If you did not join me live yesterday, we go live generally on Being a Mitch, which covers unemployment, and then I go live on yes, we are. We had another wave, says Chris Balkin. And then I go live at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time with Purple Power Live, in which I answer your questions about how to get money live directly from your cities and states. This channel is doing about 2 million views a day, but when we go live, we're doing thousands and thousands of views and comments. So I really love going live with you. So this is one of several live broadcasts throughout the day. This channel is now actually being watched more than your broadcast television channels. So thank you for really tuning in. Let me go over where we are as you start the new morning. Where we are is Congress will resume session. They're not out of town, they're just resuming session this coming Monday to determine whether or not to really get a budget bill that has to be done every 3 weeks called a continuing resolution, or CR, done. And in getting it done, what will happen? Let's back up and take a walk down what has transpired over the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, I on this channel said that there's a continuing resolution. Hello from the Philippines, Joseph Evans. Well, wow, another person from the Philippines. I said about 2 weeks ago, there's a deadline of December 11th for a continuing resolution, a budget bill that needs to get done by that day. I said, why not try to get stimulus in the continuing resolution? Because that will force the narrative among congressional leaders who have really delayed getting any type of stimulus relief to you since March. Hashtag CR for Stimulus was launched by me on this channel. Hashtag CR for Stimulus to get stimulus into a continuing resolution bill. Not a novel concept, but a concept never done in the magnitude of what this channel argued. We did it, and over the next 5 days, it became a national agenda. Both sides, both political parties said, you know what, we will put stimulus into the CR. So we got our first win. Purple Power, the followers of this channel, which I affectionately call Purple Power, got their first win by saying, yeah, stimulus will be in the CR. But we weren't done then, because when we started to see the deal provisions manifest themselves from a series of memos, not bills, coming from both sides, we saw that there was things missing, and things that absolutely could not be missing. An eviction moratorium set to expire on December 31st, missing. A mortgage forbearance set to expire on December 31st, missing. How could you have something so obvious like that missing? Are we going to allow people to be thrown on the street on January 1? Also missing, a stimulus check. Now, things not missing were PUA extension for 1 month and UI extended for 1 month. But things included that should not have been included were big bailouts of big corporate America in what is ostensibly an emergency bill, a 30-day emergency bill. Big bailouts of corporate America don't need emergency relief like airlines and hotels. They have had multiple rounds of stimulus relief before, and to the extent that they need something, they can get it in January. Joe Biden's promising a massive stimulus package in January. And so why were people who already gotten multiple rounds of corporate stimulus relief getting more before millions of Americans were getting nothing? So I started the hashtag campaign, hashtag stimulus check or shutdown, or the plural version, hashtag stimulus checks or shutdown. The messaging was very clear. Put a stimulus check in the CR, or will urge the shutdown of the federal government. It seems so obvious. You don't want to give us a stimulus check. We're going to urge that you don't get your check, your salary check, by shutting you down. And it worked. It worked. The first messaging that really came out loud and clear came from Joe Biden, who said stimulus checks are back in play. He said stimulus checks are back in play in the negotiations. Didn't give us much more than that, but said those a few words. Good. Then Nancy Pelosi says, "I want a stimulus check in the package," but then backtracked and supported a proposal that did not have a stimulus check. And then came the fake narrative, which ultimately helped us. The fake narrative came uh, from Joe Manchin, who said, "We can't have a stimulus check. One, because this is not a stimulus package. This is a relief package, and two, it costs too much." Well, suddenly those words did not go well for him, because one, there was room to financially afford it. Two, this suddenly you were bailing out big business but not helping the small families and moms and pops. So the narrative that they didn't need help but airlines did need help didn't work. So we pushed harder and harder, and then slowly it started. The first few people to say that stimulus checks need to be included were Bernie Sanders, AOC, last weekend. And then came Josh Hawley out of nowhere. As one viewer said, "Josh who?" in their Mariah Carey voice. I don't know her. Josh who? Suddenly, Josh Hawley became the poster child of the stimulus check. And he said, "You know what? I'm going to call up the president." Josh Hawley is a Republican out of Missouri and is known by the president personally, and so they spoke day after day after day. Josh Hawley's first position with the president was, "Mr. President, one, veto any stimulus offer, any CR offer that doesn't have a stimulus check." Next conversation, "Mr. President, please try to get a stimulus check in this and tell it very clear." And Josh said the president would agree to a $1,200 to $2,000 stimulus check. Really good news. This is from a president who has over 7 months said he was going to give you a stimulus check over $1,200 but hadn't, and still has not done it by executive order, even though people believe he can. This came on the news as Larry Kudlow, the chief economist for the White House, former CNBC analyst, said, "You know what? There's $600 billion of SBA money sitting over here from PPP expired. We can repurpose." Those words were words that I've been saying on this channel for no less than 4 months. The word repurpose comes out of my mouth literally every 5 minutes on this channel. There's actually more than $600 billion. It's about $800 billion. And we know how much a stimulus check costs, $300 billion. So $300 billion for a stimulus check, a $1,200 stimulus check, means that you could send out a $5,000 stimulus check with all the money sitting at SBA. And I've been advising viewers about the concern about that SBA money, because there's a worry that you wake up one morning and Steve Mnuchin yanks that money back and puts it away, and suddenly you can't repurpose the money. But ironically, the White House, Steve Mnuchin, even Mitch McConnell in writing last week said they want to repurpose the CARES Act money. The question is why no one has understood that and why no one has ever put in a bill repurposing CARES Act 1 money. It's a big issue, and I'll tell you why. Because Mitch McConnell doesn't want to have a bill that's too expensive because it raises the national debt. It doesn't raise the national debt to repurpose money. It's money that already has taken its impact on the national debt. There's that money. So finally, Josh Hawley had enough, and the hashtag stimulus check or shutdown was heating up. And that stimulus check or shutdown hashtag suddenly got very heated. All the top Democrats in the Senate came out and said, you know what? I'm writing a letter and I'm making very clear I'm not supporting any continuing resolution budget bill unless there's a stimulus check in there. And those messages came from top Democrats, former presidential candidates, Warren, and then AOC, and others wrote these letters. And finally, it came to a head. It came to a head after one night we woke up and saw that Josh Hawley actually wrote a standalone bill. It was a little bit ironic because I was the one who, over the summer in July, hashtag LALATE write the bill, tried to prove to Congress that it doesn't take a lot of pieces of paper or lines of words to write a standalone stimulus check bill. I did one for the check, I did one for FPUC, and I did it at a time in which Carolyn Maloney, the representative out of New York, the Democrat, had written a standalone bill for the post office for Nancy Pelosi that was less than a page long, that they could write a standalone bill for the post office but couldn't write one for a stimulus check. It became a national disgrace at the time as people saw that the members of Congress could rush back into town and vote on the post office as a standalone bill but couldn't do the same for a stimulus check. The Blue Dog Democrats, the New Democrat Coalition, and others of the Democrat Party had slammed Nancy Pelosi, saying, why aren't you doing this for unemployment? Why aren't you doing this for FPUC? Why aren't you doing this for a stimulus check? She said, we're aligned. As you sit here today, the Democrats are not aligned, and nor the Republicans. They are very clear on their messaging that it's inconsistent. They're very clear that it's unclear. And so Josh Hawley wrote the standalone bill, second stimulus check. $1,200 adults, $500 children, put it in. And then it started to snowball. What happened after that was Bernie Sanders, the independent out of Vermont, who often caucuses with the Democrats, said, you know what, I'm supporting this as well. And then Nancy Pelosi said, you know what, there's no much time, we're going to do extension. Well, we urged for no extension. The next campaign of the Purple Power was to say, shut down the federal government, no extension of the budget bill negotiations. Don't keep on negotiating, just shut it down or send out a stimulus check. We can't keep on doing this. Nancy Pelosi ignored that, passed an extension in the House, sent it to the Senate, and then this channel became national news. When Senator Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders got an offer for an extension of the CR on the floor of the Senate, guess what Bernie Sanders said? They said, no, we're not giving you extension. Do the stimulus check, or we're not giving you extension. And they said the messaging of this channel, hashtag stimulus check or shutdown. They said the messaging as clear as you could send a message without using without using a hashtag. And then when it came to a head, Mitch McConnell, Bernie Sanders, and Josh Hawley made a concession. And this was the concession, as Bernie Sanders says. What he said was the following: we will give you an extension for just 7 days, for just a few days, but understand, come this coming Monday, there will be no more extensions. We will procedurally block any continuing resolution unless you do a stimulus check. What's interesting is if you tune in to to CNBC every day midday, one of my favorite hosts is Kelly Evans. That's KELLYEVANS. And a new article by Kelly Evans a few days ago talks about that the second stimulus check is back on. I don't think it's ever been off, but certainly she's right that stimulus checks are back on for the national agenda. And in her article, she talks about, you know what? Every time I go on YouTube, all I hear is about second stimulus checks. In a way, she makes it sound as though YouTube has been singularly responsible for pushing the national agenda for second stimulus checks in a budget bill. Understand, as you sit here today, this channel is the #1 stimulus channel on the web. It has the highest number of watch time hours, the highest number of combined watch time hours and minutes, and the most social media tweets by the day, and certainly all the analytics across the board. You know, YouTube minutes ago put out a an annual review. I'll go over that in a second. But she was just so shocked, Kelly Evans, and how stimulus has now become a national agenda. And it never stopped becoming a national agenda. And what's important to understand is that millions of Americans have always wanted a stimulus check. And what she talked about, which is what I've been talking about on this channel, is that when you look at an extension of FPUC for 3 weeks, which is what the moderates have proposed, 3 weeks of $300, which is $900, versus a stimulus check, which of course is more than $900, millions of Americans support the stimulus check, not the extension of the FPUC, because one, the FPUC is going to be taken care of by Joe Biden in January, when he's going to do FPUC retroactive for 30-something weeks, not forward for 3 weeks at $600 a week. Two, unemployment benefits can potentially help rich people because rich people get unemployment benefits as much as poor people. And that is stimulus, and three, that stimulus check is the only mechanism that actually helps people financially in need because it actually ties it to people under an income level in 2019 numbers. Finally, stimulus checks are the fastest form of relief, as 185 economists said 2 weeks ago, because it's the only economic stimulus relief you get that arrives in your bank account within 10 days. Nothing, even unemployment assistance, cannot arrive in your account that easy across the country. And what's interesting is that stimulus, second stimulus, is back on, says Kelly Evans. So if you're watching this channel and you like this channel, tweet Kelly Evans and tell her to book LALATE on CNBC. Her Twitter account is at Kelly CNBC. That's at Kelly CNBC, and say, hey, Kelly, um, book LALATE to discuss stimulus check or shutdown, to discuss the national push for stimulus check, to discuss why stimulus checks are so needed. And with that, let me go to something that's really quite surprising. So overnight, YouTube sent to all major publishers a year-end analytics statement, and it talks about how many things occurred for your channel. It says in the analytics that came overnight that in the 6 months that this channel has been around, this channel has generated 1.4 million comments. I tell you, we get about 40,000 a day. I can't read them all. Well, I certainly can't read 1.4 million comments. Uh, it does say how many I responded to, which is sort of funny. It says that I was able to respond to 30,000 of the comments. So I appreciate of the I appreciate that I could respond to 30,000 personally of the 1.4 million comments that this channel has gotten in 6 months. So there you go. Do you think that second stimulus has been a national agenda? Yeah, with with that many comments, 6.7 million views, and now this channel has broken every YouTube record with we're at 1,000 views already on this channel. So we're at 1,000 live people in the room. We went live with 50 just a few minutes ago. We're 1,000. So we went from 50 to 1,000 in what has been 18 minutes. That shows the power of this channel. This channel, by comparison, on a given day, does more views than any Real Housewives show. It does more views than any show on Bravo. And the power of the platform comes from the testament of viewers that really want a stimulus check. I could go through analytics more from this YouTube annual, but it shows why stimulus checks are really desired. And what's important to understand is that next week there could be a procedural block. Let me go over this procedural block for you before we get back to some analytics. The procedural block works as follows. There is the continuing resolution bill, that's on one side that has to be done now again, or there's going to be actual lockdown. And on the other side is Josh's bill. This is not Josh's bill, it's just a piece of paper for illustrative points. Josh's bill has a stimulus check in it, but it doesn't have three other things that needs to be in there. It needs to have eviction moratorium, it needs to have mortgage forbearance, and it needs to have PUA and UI 1 month. So send a message to Josh. That's at Hawley, HAWLEYMO. That's the Twitter handle. And Bernie Sanders, at Bernie Sanders, and at AOC, and at Elizabeth Warren. Hello from Nepal. Wow. Manuel Meha in the room from Nepal. Well, thank you for joining us, International Views tonight, this morning. And send the message very clear that this could work as a standalone bill, but it needs more than just a stimulus check in there. It needs PUA, UI, and it also needs eviction moratorium and mortgage forbearance. You also need to make careful the language in this bill to ensure that all adults get the stimulus check, not just non-dependents. There's that. But so how can a procedural blockade occur? Let me explain the procedural blockade. The procedural blockade is people would come in the Senate, because I'm not saying that this is a fiction. They've actually said they would do this. So this is what they're planning. They're planning to basically say, here is our bill for stimulus check. We will either not vote for the continuing resolution or vote against it to block it from passing, because you need to first do our bill. It's sort of like if you want to play on the playground, we're going to lock the gate until you come to the gate and talk to me about the padlock on the gate. And until you talk to me about the padlock on the gate, I'm not going to unlock the gate. I'm not going to let you go on the playground to play yet. And so that's how they are procedurally setting this up to block. Don't forget SSI, disability, SSDI, and VA, says Patricia. Amen. So you need to ensure that Josh and Bernie get the language of the bill correct, and that there is no omission of adult dependents. In the first stimulus package, there was a bad phrasing in the language that omitted adult dependents from the second stimulus check because it tied it to who was filing a tax return. Bernie Sanders doesn't want that. So you certainly want to make sure that Bernie Sanders understands that that all adults under an income level would get the stimulus check, that no adult dependent would be omitted. It's a very important issue. So we have the Philippines. Another person in the room from Philippines, says Lee, who internationally is joining us. We're simulcast this morning on both IG and on YouTube. This is very exciting. So Kelly Evans, when she talked about this on CNBC, she said, every time I open YouTube, all I hear about is second stimulus check. Well, with this channel trending #1, #2, and #3 every single day, and putting out more videos and having more watch time than anyone else, I really appreciate that maybe she watched me instead of a cat rolling in the playground. So tweet Kelly Evans at #KellyCNBC and say, Kelly, book LALATE on CNBC and have him talk about our stimulus check in Congress. That's at Kelly CNBC, and she has a smaller Twitter account. I remember the day she opened the Twitter account because I'm a big fan of hers, and I was watching the day she said, I just opened Twitter, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I also love when she talks about Bitcoin. She's like, I don't understand this Bitcoin, but she's a lot of fun to watch on the midday show. Everyone on CNBC is fun to watch. So there you go. Anyone international that's tuning in, tell me where you are. We have had Bali. It was sad yesterday. I went through some of the comments and I missed some people international. So we had Bali, we had Russia, Uruguay, Colombia, Mexico, multiple Mexico viewers, and a lot of Southeast Asia as well tuning in. So very excited. Whatever happened to Trump's executive orders? He could still do it. He could still do it down to the last second. Trump executive orders are available down to the last second. So there you go. No December birthday calls. Yes, last night at Purple Power Live, everyone in this room practically was a December birthday. Very funny. It says holistic remedies in IG. So there you go. This is Jorge from Puerto Rico. Macchioque. Hola, Jorge. ¿Cómo estás? Uh, who else is tuning in internationally today? Although, Puerto Rico's not as far as we're reaching this morning. We did have the Philippines, and boy, it's just been a lot of fun. So as you start the new morning, go to at Holly Mo, at Bernie Sanders, at Kelly CNBC, at AOC. Then go to Mitch McConnell's press secretary, Mitch McConnell's chief of staff, excuse me, communications director, and get the messaging loud and clear. Stimulus check, eviction moratorium, mortgage forbearance, PUA and UI, and get it done. Next week needs to be a real blockade. We need to block any CR being done unless those four things are done. Lizette El Suzy in the IG room says, absolutely the best. So get the messaging out very loud and clear. Tweet these people. These are people who have smaller accounts. They have accounts less than 300, 400,000. And so they see your tweets. They absolutely see your tweets. Love pancakes and lots of blueberries. That sounds wonderful. Good morning from South Africa. Jive Turkey live. Well, there we go. South Africa is tuning in to this morning and turning up. I really appreciate South Africa for tuning in. Let's get it rolling. Really exciting. So for all my international viewers, South Korea, who was that just then? I missed it. Maria Choi from South Korea, as we almost wrap this broadcast. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, and also from Mexico. Someone was there from Mexico. Living in Mexico, blessings to your child. Luna Plies, first stimulus check, living in Mexico. And Chris Pakin, also from South Korea. My God, we have two from South Korea this morning. Exciting. And Chris Bacon, who was here yesterday from South Korea, very exciting. So tweet those, and with that, I'll see you on holidays LALATE at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. As always, stay informed. Don't go. I'll be back. Back, Chris Bacon. Join me at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for joining me, Chris Bacon, and all my other international viewers around the world. I feel like I'm really on the CNBC set. Thank you for tuning in from my international viewers around the world. Which we get about 40 or 50 international viewers a day, and I will see. And hello from the Philippines. Oh wait, who is that? James Bafferty from the Philippines. Boy, we have about 4 people from the Philippines. See you in a few hours. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay in LA for more.